Good morning and welcome to this session on cyber peace in a fragmented world, securing digital resilience through international cooperation. We have the pleasure today to welcome Jakov Milatović, the President of Montenegro, and Valdecy Urquiza, the Secretary General of Interpol. So we are indeed in an era of geopolitical fragmentation where basically every digital technology can be weaponized, and the rise of major cyber threats, where the lines also between domestic threat and international threats get kind of blurred. And we have observed that we have a whole range of attacks, and sometimes combined attacks, ranging from ransomware attacks to digital espionage, coupled very often with disinformation threats as well. They not only target critical infrastructures, but they also target populations, assets, variety of assets, public trust, and they put into question also sovereignty. So Interpol has played a growing role in facilitating cross-border crime investigations, intelligence sharing, and capacity building among law enforcement agencies. And Montenegro has had to face firsthand major cyber attacks in 2022 and the vulnerability of its critical infrastructure. So this session will explore how international cooperation can help combat cybercrime effectively. What is the role of global policing institutions like Interpol in responding to these threats? And how can states improve their digital resilience? How can they be creative in facing cybercrime? So I will start asking a couple of questions on the cyber threat landscape, maybe starting with you, Mr. President. If you could tell us a bit about this August 2022 cyber attacks, because Montenegro experienced an unprecedented wide-ranging cyber attacks that has a major impact on the critical infrastructure. So maybe if you could explain a little bit what happened then, and also how you responded to these major attacks, and what's happened since. What have you put in place to make the country more resilient? And are these type of attacks still as much as a concern today as it was then? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your question. And let me first, at the beginning, say that I'm very pleased to be once again at Paris Peace Forum, discussing this very important topic, and perhaps also providing a bit of examples from the point of view of Montenegro, which is a small Balkan country, a Mediterranean country, which is part of NATO. So Montenegro became the part of NATO in 2017, and we are now the most advanced country out of all the candidate countries to become the part of the EU, with the hope of becoming the 28th member state of the EU by 2028. On your question, this is obviously an important topic, and I believe that we in Montenegro have, for the first time, really understood it's how serious the topic is when we were under a heavy cyber attack back in 2022. Because until it happens to you, you always think, it happens only to the others. And you perhaps don't really make your system as resilient as it should be in order to fight it back. So what happened is that the country experienced a heavy cyber attack in 2022 that basically almost for a month shut down our public administration in terms of its digital digital interface. The public sites were shut down, some of the data have been lost, etc., etc. And I think that for a small country like Montenegro, it was tremendously important to basically fight this problem with the support of our international partners. So number one message is that international cooperation was crucial for us to resolve the issue. Despite the fact that I was not a member of the government, I obviously remember it very vividly, that it was immediately that a task force from some of our key international partners came to Montenegro, including those from US, from France, from all over the European Union, and only together with them we were able to really see what's happening and to try to start fixing the problem. So international cooperation is obviously very important. I think that ever since a small country like Montenegro understood how important it is to be as resilient as possible in terms of the cyberspace, because wars don't really happen only in a physical form. They very often, especially nowadays, are happening through a digital space. And so what we have been doing ever since is sort of putting our legislation up to date. Our laws, our strategies, our action plans are now up to certain standards that are the standards of a NATO country. And I believe probably it would have taken a longer time for us to understand the issue unless we would have been attacked in 2022. So there is a positive sort of know-how that we have taken it out. So that's a second important message. You need obviously to learn from it, to face it, but also to take the messages out of it. So legislation is now up to date, and what is more important is we have in the meantime also put a lot of emphasis on creating new institutions within our government setup that are going to be sort of crucial in the government architecture in terms of sort of sorting out these type of problems. So, for instance, we are currently also having a cyber security agency being created. This is a process which is also underway. We have also understood another important message, and this is how intergovernmental cooperation is crucial, because usually the government as a big entity, communication between different departments can be very much fragmented. So what we have also done in the meantime, we have created intergovernmental commission, sort of a working group which is handling this topic on a daily basis. So those are all, steps that the country have taken in the meantime to become much more resilient when it comes to this topic.
Thank you very much. I guess intergovernmental cooperation is sometimes harder than international cooperation. Do you also have you also put in place a cooperation with the private sector on these issues?
Well, I think that for us it was very key, obviously, to put in place international cooperation. So as I have mentioned, and perhaps we would also be able to touch upon a new regional center, cybersecurity center, for capacity development that we have created with the support of the French government, with the support of the Slovenian government, and which has now been created in Montenegro to serve sort of the wider Western Balkan region. And I believe this is also a result of what has been happening in our country over the last few years. So what I can really say now is that first of all, we understood, we have taken positive steps to face the problem, and now we have created a system which is much more resilient only with the support from our international partners.
Thank you very much. So we'll come back to that center a little bit later, but I would like to finish this assessment of the threat landscape. Mr. Secretary General, could you tell us a little bit about what Interpol is seeing in terms of cyber threat landscape, because you have this global cybercrime panorama in real time. So could you maybe explain a little bit more what you're seeing now? What are the new attacks or operational modes that you're observing, and how do you obtain the most comprehensive vision of the threat landscape?
Thank you, and good morning, Professor. Good morning, Mr. President. It's a great honor to join the Paris Peace Forum for the second time and to discuss such a relevant topic, especially for the law enforcement community. And to be here representing not only Interpol, but the law enforcement agencies from the 196 countries that are part of Interpol. We have a complex that is based in Singapore that was developed 10 years ago with the focus on assessing and understanding and preparing for the new threats. And our cyber program is based in Singapore exactly for that. And we are in a very strategic position, receiving information from 196 different countries on the new threats, the challenges they face, and also the techniques that helps and works on the fight against the cyber threats. And we constantly develop threat assessments, global threat assessments, regional threat assessment, and the newest one that we had developed, it's a public available report, is a threat assessment on the cyber threats coming from the African region. It was published a couple of weeks ago. And we can see exactly the development of the threat. First, ransom attacks are still a strong threat, especially for critical infrastructures. And those organizations are financially motivated to commit those attacks with, of course, the goal of profiting from that. And we have seen also that more and more those criminal networks are leveraging from the newest technologies, but especially now from AI-based services, making it more complex for the victims to identify the attacks, making it more complex for law enforcement to investigate those attacks, and making it easier for them to reach a wider sort of victims. And also, we are seeing the development of a framework that we call as crime as a service, where those criminal networks don't necessarily have all the technical elements that are necessary to commit those frauds, but they can leverage and hire those services from different organizations and get the expertise they need to commit those crimes. And this has become more and more challenging for law enforcement to prevent and investigate those threats. And also that threat assessment show us, which is a reality not only in Africa, but in other regions, how difficult it is becoming for law enforcement to fight those threats. First, because the technical expertise that you need to investigate those crimes are not necessarily available. So you do need experts with the proper skills and capabilities that are not necessarily within the law enforcement agencies. And second, because this is the type of activity that requires more and more resources to fight. And the type of tools, the type of resources that you need are not available to all countries that are affected by those threats. So the threat assessment, as I mentioned, is publicly available, and I would encourage the audience here to access and see in details the development of it. Thank you.
Thank you. So do you, in addition to publishing the threat assessment, also communicate intelligence about cyber threats to specific countries when you identify a specific threat?
We do. So this is part of the relevant work we do based in Singapore, where we have members of academia, members of the private sector, and members from law enforcement agents present in the same unit working side by side, leveraging from all the information that is coming from the different sectors and the different countries. And what they do there is exactly that. So they are able to assess the information that is coming and produce reports, intelligence reports, that is reverted back to member countries and can be used for operational activities.
So between artificial intelligence and crime as a service, it seems to become easier on the attacker side with less resources needed and harder on the defense side. Can you just, before we move on, elaborate a little bit about how artificial intelligence is used to conduct cyber attacks? Is it used to generate code or to techniques of phishing? Or could you just elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a different use, and we see the scenario evolving every day. So it facilitates how they can generate the components of those attacks, so the malwares that are used to commit attacks. On the case of fraud, that is also a phenomenon that is evolving fast. It helps in organizing the frauds, making it more difficult for the victims to identify when they are being targeted, because they can generate scripts that are focused on the specific group that they are targeting. They can also generate information that is used on those frauds. And also, they can, leveraging from AI, they can reach more and more people than they were able before, making a larger group of victims available for them. AI is relevant for the criminal networks to commit those activities, but is also a relevant component for the fight against criminal. And this is also what we are developing at our Innovation Center in Singapore at IGCI, is how we can use for law enforcement AI-based services that can help in the investigation and prevention of those crimes.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. President, did you want to react? Or?
Perhaps just to sort of, put a spotlight on another important topic, which I believe is even a broader one than cyber threats, and this is hybrid threats. Especially in a very complex geopolitical environment that we are all living in at this stage, when the world is also becoming more and more multipolar. What we have been experiencing in Montenegro, and I believe this is obviously something that Europe is experiencing on a daily basis, are different hybrid threats, hybrid attacks, which basically are providing to our public a lot of disinformation. So we are constantly living in a setup when the audience, general public, cannot really differentiate anymore what is information and what is disinformation. And we can obviously internationally cooperate. We can put a lot of resilient institutions, update our legislation, but in a long run, in my opinion, there are only two key ingredients to fight back hybrid threats, and these are to work on the social cohesion of our societies, and to basically strengthen media literacy of our public, so that especially in the schools, so that our kids, and I'm now a father of two. I'm father of three, but two of them are now in the school system, and it's a very complex environment when actually especially the kids are being through the social media and etc. Are being constantly facing different disinformation. So what I'm trying to say is that media literacy, especially from a very young age, should be strengthened so that a wider public can really, make a difference between information and disinformation, thus making all our societies much more resilient.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. Secretary General, I think disinformation is probably out of scope of Interpol, or do you also cooperate internationally to address this threat? And then the other question I had, because we only have 5 minutes left, is to get a bit of explanation about the pivotal role that Montenegro plays in the Western Balkan Cyber Capacity Center. So if you'd like to address this, my question.
So by our rules, the constitution that guides our organization, we don't act on hybrid threats. We only work on non-state actors, criminal activities, ordinary crime. And I'd just like to mention one thing that His Excellency mentioned during his initial remarks about the need of cooperation and cross-sector collaboration. Cybercrime by nature is a transnational crime. It's very disseminated across different states. So each time you investigate one specific threat, you see the involvement of members of criminal organizations coming from different countries. And it's absolutely important that we provide a mechanism that makes possible for the actors involved in that investigation to move information quickly. So we do need transnational cooperation, as His Excellency mentioned. And also, we do believe that to properly prevent and investigate those crimes, we need cross-sector collaboration. That's why at Interpol, we foster so much the collaboration between private sector, academia, and law enforcement agencies, because not only because of the knowledge, the experience that those other sectors bring to law enforcement, but also because more and more the information that you need to investigate cyber threats, they are sitting with private entities. So it's absolutely necessary to have a framework that involves this transnational and cross-sector collaboration.
Thank you.
And how all of this is very much connected. And I do want to give you an example, especially for a small country, which is on a daily basis facing challenges of organized crime and corruption. Working with Interpol, with Europol, is crucial. So, for instance, only upon the evidence that we got from the French law enforcement authorities, Europol and Interpol, when it comes to the Sky correspondence, which was used by the organized crime gangs, we were now able to process many of them in a prosecutorial court system. And when you also philosophically think about it, I do want to really make a point here. Ultimately, it really comes also to the integrity of the people who are part of the law enforcement system. Because what we have unfortunately learned from this Sky correspondence between the international organized crime gangs is that part of our law enforcement system was, instead of fighting back the organized crime, was part of the organized crime. And this is, this is not only about Montenegro, this is international problem. And many of those people that used to be part of our law enforcement system are now being processed by our prosecutorial system for their wrongdoings. And this is where the international cooperation is crucial. This is where a country like Montenegro wouldn't really be able to fight it back alone. And this is where Interpol, Europol, French law enforcement authorities were crucial for Montenegro as well. Coming back to what you have asked about the role of Montenegro in a wider region, especially on the cybersecurity threats, as I have already mentioned, we are now putting in place a regional cybersecurity capacity development center for the Western Balkan region with the major support of the of the French government, major support of the Slovenian government, really thus making Montenegro sort of a central part of a wider cybersecurity capacity development system in the Western Balkan region, thus making obviously the whole region more resilient.
Well, thank you very much. Would you like to add something about this center and your collaboration with it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I believe that the example that His Excellency provided is exactly what we try to achieve in all the cases we support our member countries with. It's about bringing the information, bringing the expertise and the commitment from other countries that can help in investigating one specific case. It's a global effort. You cannot face or fight cyber threats without a collaborative approach. And this example and the center that was established afterwards, it's absolutely the way to deal with that.
Thank you. So I guess Montenegro benefited. We're really on time, so thank you very much.
Thank you.